Hey, gang. You know, the funny thing about the multiverse is that there's lots of different ways to get to the same end. Sometimes you're a bit of a scientist and a pesky guy in a tight leotard ruins your experiment and drives you insane. Other times you live in a horror-themed plane where some weirdo gene splicer creates you in a vat. Whichever way you end up a goblin, there's sure to be some mayhem. Welcome to Head Games.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is the Zombie Apocalypse, and as I was walking down the street in New York, a man in a cool green armor flying this cool glider thing stopped, and he said, "Your name is Steve now." So here I am.
Seems like a weird thing for a rando in New York to say, or maybe it's not.
I don't know. He had this cool glider thing. I wasn't going to argue with him.
Hey there, gang. I'm Jeterex, strong enough to have it all. Too weak to take it. In my villain years, they called me Terrible Tim.
When did the villain days end, or has it not ended yet?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you for joining us today on the Head Games Commander podcast, where we spotlight our favorite commanders from Magic the Gathering. But before we get started, I need you to hit the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, because a New Yorker gets saved by Spider-Man every time.
Every single time.
Every time. So, Tim, I'm pretty sure they figured it out already, but who are we shining our spotlight on today?
Don't worry, folks. The good news is it's not Spider-Man.
Yes!
So today we are spotlighting the Green Goblin, or Fleam, Goblin's creation. We'll explain more as we go along. I mean, if you know, you know, but we'll get to that here in a second. So in this episode, we'll describe the deck strategy, share what we love about the commander, highlight some of our favorite cards from this brand new deck.
So today's deck was built by our good friend Tim. The set is from Magic the Gathering Spider-Man set, or Through the Omen Path. If you know, you know. So why don't you tell us about your commander and give us the bracket talk or the Rule Zero conversation.
So to get started today, we have to talk about the Goblin in the room, which is that the Spider-Man set, if you don't know, Wizards of the Coast did not have the digital game rights to Spider-Man, so all of the Spider-Man set cards have different skin, different cards, different art, different names on Magic Arena. Now, Commander is a paper format, so you see this card in Commander, you're going to see it as Norman Osborn on the front and the Green Goblin on the back. So I really like the Arena skin for this card, which is Goblin, Gene Splice Savant on the front, and Fleam, Goblin's creation, on the back. The cards are identical, they just have different names. So I'm going to refer to it as Fleam through most of the video today, although we'll probably put it up as the Green Goblin on the thumbnail because everybody seems to be more interested in the Spider-Man content. So anyway, the card, the commander, on the front side, Norman Osborn or Goblin, is a 2 mana, 1 and a blue. It's a 1/1. It can't be blocked. When it deals combat damage to a player, he connives, which means that you discard a card, draw a card, then discard a card, and if you discard a non-land card, he gets a +1/+1 counter. And then you can flip him for 1, a blue, a black, and a red. So 4 total, you can activate that only as a sorcery. The back half, which you're probably going to see a whole lot more when you play against this deck, I do think that there's lines where casting the front half on 2 or 3 makes sense because you can get a discard trigger and then flip it, but you're going to see the backside of this most of the time, and that is the Green Goblin, or Flame, Goblin's creation. This is a 4 mana, 1 in Grixis, a blue, a black, and a red, for a 3/3 flying menace. It reads, spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 2 generic less to cast, and each non-land card in your graveyard has Mayhem. Mayhem cost is equal to its mana cost. So Mayhem is a new keyword for this set. If you discarded the card this turn, you can play it for its Mayhem cost. You still have to obey timing rules. So think of it that when it kind of knows, it's got a stamp on it, as it were, if it's been discarded this turn. If it's in your graveyard and it got there by discard, it knows that. And then once the commander comes out, if the card knows that it was discarded, it gets the kind of Mayhem text on it for that turn and just that turn. So if it changes zones, you really only get to cast it once. It can be kind of complicated. It's not madness. There's a lot going on with Mayhem. So I wanted to explain a little bit about it before we got too deep into the conversation today. So the rule 0, the bracket conversation. So I didn't put any game changers in this list, not because I was trying to power the deck down, but because I didn't really have a whole lot that synergized with it very well. I would play this at a 4. I would play this at a 4 table every day. I think if I play against people who say that they're 3, that this is going to be feel a little overpowered for them, if it's not interrupted. If you interact with it, it may seem a lot weaker because if it doesn't have its commander, it may not be nearly as scary. But if it does have its commander, it can win very, very quickly. And it can also just get an enormous amount of value very quickly. So I would definitely call this a 4 as far as the brackets go, even though there aren't any currently any game changers in it. And then as far as the rule 0 goes, this is a discard matters deck, a mayhem deck. I'm trying to get a lot of value out of doing those things, so I'm going to draw a bunch of cards, discard a bunch of cards, get as much value as I can out of those things, and win with either incremental damage from doing those things or by generating a bunch of tokens and then making those tokens difficult to block and getting through with that kind of damage.
Oh. So we're going to go ahead and go into the strengths and weaknesses of this deck. So Tim, what would you think the strengths and weaknesses of your deck are?
So I think I talked already. Why don't you go first?
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah.
So, boy, let me tell you, this deck is strong. It is stupid explosive. If you let Fleam out like for one turn, the game, you're cooked. You're just cooked. This is a kill on site commander. I want to make this perfectly clear, because it's each card. So, and with that 2 mana discount, any 2 mana rock is free just by discarding it. And Tim, do you have some discard outlets in the deck?
I have a few. It's true.
Just a few. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So having free mana rocks just makes this even more explosive, because you discard, you get more mana, and then you can discard more things, and then you can play more spells. So like even on turn like 4, you could be playing like 5 or 6 spells pretty easily if you have the right discard outlets. But I will say one of the weaknesses is that there is no weakness. This deck is perfect. No, but seriously, if it doesn't have its commander, it won't be nearly as good. So, like as I said, kill it on sight. You're not going to be able to cast the things that you want to necessarily cast, which means your discard outlets aren't going to be doing as much as you want them to do. But that doesn't mean the deck's not going to do anything. It's still going to see a lot of cards. It's still going to be able to do all sorts of other crazy things. And the fact that Fleam is so cheap, here's what makes it even better. Like, you don't have, like, if mana's tight, you could always just play Norman Osborn for cheaper and then transform it later.
Yep.
So the command tax isn't as awful as it could be. So
it's an interesting point. Like you can. So if it's died once, you would have to pay 6 to get the back half into play, but you could play 4 to get the front half into play.
Right.
Let a turn go by, play 4 to flip it, and now you did end up paying 8 at that point, but it's really over 2 turns. Right. It's over a few turns.
So man, this deck is crazy strong, but as I said, if you don't have your commander, it's not going to do half as well without it.
Yeah, and I find that that's just how I build commander decks. Like for me, the commander does matter, and
Right.
I guess I mean I definitely think that like when you get to that tier that's maybe
Mhm.
CEDH, they do care what the commander does, but like super competitive decks are going to care a lot less, and
Right.
they're going to be able to do what they're trying to do regardless of whether their
Right.
commander's there. Like I'm here to play my commander and make my commander do the thing that it's trying to do.
Right.
That's the kind of game that I'm playing, so I'm always going to have that weakness.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All right, it's your turn
So
now.
how do I what do I think about the deck? So as far as strengths goes, I really think that the value that you get out of this is just gigantic. And that you mentioned it before, it gets to see a lot of cards due to wheeling and repeatable loot effects and the kind of card advantage engines that are in the deck, you just get to look at a lot of cards.
Mhm.
So, and sometimes that explosiveness, that's the form that it comes in, is you just get to draw an enormous amount of cards very, very quickly. And a lot of the cards that you're discarding along the way feel like you still have them in your hand because you can still cast them this turn. One thing that I really like about the list and the commander in general is that it has flying and menace.
Yeah,
So it's actually has some sneaky evasion to it, where if your opponent's only got one flying blocker, you know, a bird of paradise that they just incidentally have out in play, that's not going to stop it. There are also at least one thing I can think of actually that makes a creature unblockable in the deck, and there's a huge value to that as well, because I actually think this deck is going to win with commander damage
a
a
lot of
fair
the
amount
time.
of the
Yeah,
time. Yeah, at least it's going to beat one person with commander damage. So, and it can get that commander damage finish seemingly out of nowhere if you weren't really if you didn't have your shields up.
yeah,
I think that I haven't played it a lot yet. I fishbowled it a whole lot. Only got really one good game in with it last weekend. And I've thought this a lot, is that it probably needs more protection in it than I have. It's got blue in
that
the
makes a
deck,
lot of
so I could
sense.
definitely be playing more counter magic, especially if I'm creative about the counter magic I use. I could definitely have things that also have the card draw and discard built into them. There's plenty of counter spells that do that. So I've really thought about shifting my single target interaction away from removal or at least to some extent, and then towards more counter magic to kind of, because I need to keep my stuff in play, and in these colors, counter magic's definitely the way to do that.
All right, before we
Uh,
get into the next thing, real quick, I just thought of a really cool counter spell that you could use that could
yeah.
make it go crazy. Rewind would be really, really good because
Oh
you
yeah.
discard it, you
Mhm.
pay 2 blue, and you untap 4 lands. Tell me
Yeah.
that's not the secret sauce.
That's it. That's exactly right. There is another one that's just it's a negate that untaps three
Hmm.
lands. It's two and a blue. It's unwind, I think. And I heavily considered putting that in the deck for the same reason. Is a very good option. Certainly, I think I could definitely find room for that in the deck. And I think unwind as well. I actually think based on what we've seen the deck do, those are both good options. One last note before we move on. The other thing that I struggle with, and this is true about any deck of this variety, like three color decks, I think one of the challenges that you face is finding the right balance. Is figuring out when in that color identity, what is the better thing for you to be doing. And because in Grixis you've got access to black, so you've got premium creature removal. You've got access to blue, so you've got premium counter magic, and you've got access to red, which actually does some chaos stuff and can be versatile. What's the right mix, right? So in picking out your single targeted interactions and picking out your mass interactions, I have a hard time finding the right balance, and I will be the one of the first ones to admit that this color combination in particular, I always struggled with. It's got this kind of corner of the Magic universe is difficult for me. So I'm happy with the list, but I know that it's difficult to find the right balance between the colors.
Yeah, this kind of deck's right in my wheelhouse, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, uh, making other people not play Magic, which I find it quite surprising myself, right? Until like I guess last year or so, I didn't realize how much of a control player I am until the last like 5 decks that I built were accidental control with a really cool win con.
Spoiler alert, folks, it wasn't an accident.
It wasn't an accident. Sorry, folks.
He's just in denial, and he's just now coming around to the realization that he's in
That's
fact a
right.
control player. I'm a mid-range player, like sitting here building a mid-range version of what probably needs to be a more controlling shell if the deck really wants to be successful.
Alrighty, now that we talked about the strengths and weaknesses, it's time to get to the basics. So the basics are the generic stats that we give each commander deck. We're talking about card draw, ramp, single target removal, and single target interaction and mass interaction. So Tim, why don't you go ahead and tell us the breakdown of these basics?
Okay, now grain of salt with all of these numbers because sometimes it's really easy to identify a thing. Sometimes it's not so easy, right? There are definitely cards that fit a couple of these different things. I did include all of the loot effects in this first number because I think in this deck, while it doesn't necessarily give you advantage, it does really matter. Those things are much more powerful in this deck. So I clocked 22 different card draw spells. And again, that's counting all the looters, which there's a decent amount of those. 13 ramp, 11 single targeted interaction, and 5 mass interaction. And let me tell you, I had to scrape for those last 2 numbers. Like when I first built the deck, both of those last 2 were low, and we had this conversation, last time we had, very recently, where you are very good at building decks that have high amounts of single targeted and mass interaction. I not so much. I want to do the thing that I want to do, and I will cut in this area. So I had a hard time getting those numbers, but there they are. 11 and 5 feels pretty close to good enough.
You know what, Tim? I'm very proud of you. To see 11 single targeted interactions just brings joy to my heart.
Okay, so now we get to do the fun part where we'll talk about the cards in the deck that fit into each of these basic categories that we think are just standouts that are really good choices for these. And you'll notice very quickly, if you're listening or watching, as we go over these cards, many of them fit into more than one category. Especially Steve's first pick.
Oh my god!
Like it probably could have gone in. It couldn't have gone in all the basic categories, but it could have gone in all the objective categories. Anyway, so we'll go over into card draw. Steve, what was your pick for an excellent card draw spell?
So my pick was a awesome creature called Bone Miser. It is 4 and a black. It's a zombie wizard. It says whenever you discard a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever you discard a land, add 2 black mana. And whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. This card does such amazing work. When you have a free discard outlet or play a wheel effect of any kind, it is going to get you so much mana. It's going to draw you so many extra cards, and it's going to fill up your board with crazy 2/2 zombies that don't need to be there. Good gracious! Every chance I get to run this card in the deck, I'm so happy to see this card. It is because one of the cards that I used to like to run back in the day when I was a horrible standard player who did mean things. I used to play what was it called? Waste Not or what? It's a two mana enchantment. That's whenever your opponents do these things, you get these effects.
Yep.
But this is so much more fair for everybody because you have to discard the cards, so you might as well get the reward for it, right?
Anybody who sat across from this in this list or any other discard matters list would not call this card fair.
Yeah, like if my cycling deck had black in it, Bone Miser's in the list.
Yeah. Literally the most expensive spell in the deck from a dollar standpoint. and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Like, this is such an incredibly powerful card when you are built around forcing yourself to discard things. Steve mentioned earlier the mana rock trick, and the mana rock trick is what makes this deck hum. It is so easy to, and that's why I'm running the full complement of like I have all the signets, all of the talismans, and arcane signet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2 mana rocks,
And Soul Ring.
because and Soul Ring. The 7 2 mana rocks are so good in this list. They're normally just fine, right? They're good enough, but they're amazing in this because you discard them with a Bone Miser, you draw an additional card, you play them for free, and you can keep doing that. It's remarkable. Yeah, Bone Miser is a great pick.
Alrighty, so what card did you pick?
So I picked one of my looters, and I picked the one that I think is probably the singly most effective, and it's Rona, Herald of Invasion. This is from March of the Machines. It's 1 and a blue for a 1/3. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, untap Rona, and it taps to draw a card, that discard a card. It does have a transform and a backside. I'm not going to read it because I just don't think you'll ever see it if I'm playing this deck. So again, basically, it's draw and discard, and if you play a legendary spell, you get to untap and you get to do it again. And there's more than enough legendary permanents or spells in this deck to make it worth it. So Rona is just, it's a little engine unto itself. It's one of my favorite things to do on the second or third turn before the commander comes out, because then it's you tap Rona, discard a mana rock, play the commander, untap Rona, play the mana rock. Like, you can see very quickly how it gets you an enormous amount of value.
So just overall looking at it, it looks like there's like 10 or 11 legendary things. And again, like, you could play just Merfolk Looter, right? And that's good
Right.
enough. But the fact that this has just any off chance to untap, that little bit of extra upside is all you really need to make it even that much better. I really like the choice of this card. And seriously, if you ever got to the point where you had to flip this thing over, I think you've lost him.
Yeah, something very bad is going on. The backside's even a strong card. It's decent. It's just that, like, you're almost never actually going to need it.
Yeah, what a good pick. What a good pick. Alrighty, so the card that I picked for the ramp section is Ultimate Green Goblin. I forget how much he costs, and I am woefully unprepared. How much does that card cost, mana value wise?
3, it's
3.
1
Here he is.
and
Yeah, I found him.
two hybrid black red.
So, Ultimate Green Goblin is all those things. He's a legendary creature, which untaps his other creature as well. And it says at the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card, then create a treasure token. And it also has Mayhem for a hybrid and 2. So, like, it's nothing to write home to mom about, but you know what? It's got that discard effect in it. It can be discarded easily. It costs even less if you discard it yourself and then pay it, because then it's only 1 red. So there's just a lot of good things. And the cool thing about this, the treasure's not tapped either. So like it's usable mana that turn too. So it's not, primo list of these things, but like sometimes I want to pick some of the lower powered level stuff to kind of exemplify some of the stuff that you don't necessarily get to talk about.
I think that this should be in every iteration of this list.
Correct.
Like, of this deck. If you're playing the Green Goblin, you want Ultimate Green Goblin. And really, we skipped over this part, but it's a 5/4. Like,
Oh,
it's a
right. I didn't even
beater.
think about that part.
Yeah, it's super cheap. Again, if you discard this and you've got your commander on board, it only costs 1, and it's a 1 mana 5/4 that you have to discard a card at the beginning of your upkeep, but you want to be discarding cards most of the time, and it's getting you an additional treasure. So I've always had good fortune with this card, and I just think it, as you said, as far as a ramp piece go, it's one of the more interesting ones. We talked about the mana rocks, but everybody knows what they are.
Right.
And really, again, like in this list, the mana rocks do this other double duty, but this guy, don't sleep on this because it's going to give you a treasure every turn.
Yep. Alrighty. What ramp card did you pick?
I picked a strange card for ramp, but this always translates to a ramp piece, and the card is Frantic Search. This is 2 and a blue for an instant, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, untap up to 3 lands. It always translates as ramp because whenever I'm discarding it, I'm casting it for 1. It's untapping 3 lands. It's also keeping the value flowing by drawing me 2 cards and discarding 2 cards as well. So this card is remarkable. It is the kind of thing that kind of holds the deck together and continues to make it hum when the engine is going. So I think that you can't underemphasize how powerful this is in this kind of deck.
Let me tell you, any excuse for me to run this card, I'm going to find an excuse to run it. I love this card so freaking much. You know what, though? I am surprised it's not in Garth. Probably because it doesn't need to be there. But that card's really freaking good. I'm just a huge fan of playing a spell and untapping my lands.
There's so much opportunity for you to get good value out of this. Like in any number of these places, and there's so much words on here for just 3 mana, and if you can reduce the cost at all, you then end up ahead, and it's just not hard to do. So in this deck where you want to be discarding stuff anyway, having something that you cast for cheap that untaps lands that's also drawing and discarding, it's just exactly where the deck wants to be.
Yeah, that card's a perfect fit for this deck.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go ahead and go into the single targeted interaction. And the card that I picked is Bitter Triumph. It is a black and a white, colorless. And it says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card or pay 3 life. It just destroys target creature or planeswalker.
Yep.
Man, the value you get from this, because you're going to pay only a black for it,
Probably.
Which is incredible, which then will allow you to do even more things. Now, playing it as an instant makes it not as good because you have to follow timing restrictions. So, I mean, personally, I would probably run something along the lines of like Leyline of Anticipation, just so those timing restrictions don't matter.
I will tell you that I had the fairy that does it in the original list, and it just over time what I realized is that the deck wants to be doing everything on its own turn.
Right.
Because really, like with some of the other cards we'll talk about later, like you're getting the value on your turn. So there's not, and that's actually what discourages me from playing with counter magic as an interaction.
Yep.
Is that you don't really actually want to be leaving stuff up. So the fact that I agree with you that Bitter Triumph being an instant isn't actually all that relevant, because I'm going to be casting this on my turn at sorcery speed quite often, so that I can then cast whatever I discarded to cast it and keep the ball rolling.
No. Yeah, I don't know how well putting like Vodalkin Orrery in here or something, because like you're only having to pay 2 for it, which makes it a whole lot better. But as you said, like the pump effects that make your creatures bigger don't matter during other people's turns. But I will say being able to do things at instant speed is pretty sweet. So it's a tough call. It's a tough call.
It's tough to find room for it, and remember the rule that if it costs the same mana value as your commander, it had better be ridiculous. It had better be very, very good. And you'll notice that if you look at the 4 drops that I have in the list.
I did see that.
I actually have almost as many 5 drops as I do 4 drops, because as far as I'm concerned, that spot on the curve is going to be my commander almost every time.
Right.
So like when the 4 drop spells, the things that make it instant, there is the fairy that does it. I can't remember the name of it, but also Vodalkin Orrery. So there are these other things that can make things instant. I just don't know that it needs it. I don't know that it's actually what it needs to win. So it's taking up a spot in an already very kind of difficult to find room for kind of deck style.
Yeah. I mean, I think you build your deck differently if you're going to have those cards in there in general.
That's right. That makes a lot of sense to me.
So, All right. So I'm sorry for the tangent on the single targeted interaction, but what's the interaction you picked?
I love this card. It's such a janky card, and I'm so glad that I found a list for it because I've been trying to find a list for it forever. The card is Argentum Masticore. This is a 5 mana artifact creature. It's a Phyrexian Masticore. It's a 5/5 first strike protection from monocolored. Don't sleep on
Multicolored.
multicolored.
Yep.
Protection from multicolored. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Argentum Massacre unless you discard a card. When you discard a card this way, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the mana value of the discarded card.
Gross.
Yeah. So it's slow, but if this is on the board and it isn't dealt with, the first thing I'm doing at the beginning of each of my turns is discarding something that can destroy any non-land permanent, which in the deck like this, with some permanents that are harder to take care of others because of the color combination, this slots in very well to be an answer to some of those things. I'm a huge fan of this card. I like it a lot in this list.
Well, and also, for the most part, you're only paying 3 for this card, which makes
Sometimes
it
less.
way better.
Yep.
I the reason why I say 3 is because it's definitely going to get the 2 less. Doesn't mean it's
Yes.
always going to be the 2 less, but no, I'm just a huge fan of the Master Cores because I got destroyed in many standard events by the original Master Core.
Yeah, the OG.
Yeah.
We all some of us remember. I shouldn't say we all remember. Some of us remember.
We've been hurt in the past, but I still enjoyed the card, and it just brings back fond memories. So, what a great pick, and the fact that it's just on your upkeep, I'm going to discard something, destroy something, and then cast something later.
And cast whatever I discarded.
Man, I mean,
Especially
discarding cards
considering
turns into drawing cards. Like that's what your commander does.
It does, and like I want to highlight here that the more expensive things, especially the 5 drops, right? Like when I'm discarding a 5 drop to Argenta Masticore, that thing's now going to cost 3. You really want to be discarding things that cost 4 or more, or 3 or more, I suppose, so that you're getting the maximum value out of it. If I'm discarding a 2 mana thing, unless it's a mana rock, like sometimes I'm not getting the full discount, and you want to get as much mana value out of it as you can.
Right.
So really, you're really incentivized to play expensive spells with Argenta, to discard expensive spells to Argenta Masticore, which means you're blowing up some of the biggest things on the board, and that is exactly the point.
Yeah, card's really, really good. So we're gonna go ahead and go dive deep into the mass interaction. And the card that I pick, the more I've played with this card, the more excited I am about this card. The card we're talking about is Aetherize. For 3 and a blue, it's an instant. It says return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. Man, you can do some really cool things. And the fact that this only costs 2. It costs 2, Tim.
If you discard it, to be clear. But yes, I'm often casting this for 2 or just 1. Like, it's a really... And I also, like, I'm very aggressive with this deck. Like, I am turning my creatures sideways as much as I possibly can, because I'm trying to close out the game super fast. This deck is not a, like, sit around and see what happens kind of deck. I know people are coming for me. I'm coming for you first. So leaving a little bit of mana up to be able to Aetherize things... It's very backbreaking when somebody swings out at you and you go, nope, those are going to all go back into your hand.
Or you could be like the dirty control player, have you kill someone, and then, have player 2 kill player 3, and then your player 1 who then returns player 2's creatures to their hand after they killed somebody. Man.
Yeah. What an awful thing to do. Why would you do that?
I don't know, Tim. Why don't you tell me? Oh, so many bad things happened in Atlanta. I'm just bringing up horrible memories. And this is a go-to pick.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tim. Just give it to him.
So I love that I got to have a creature in the list that I consider to be mass interaction, and it is everybody's least favorite demon. It is Archfiend of Ifnir. This 5 mana, 5/4 flying demon says whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. So it's a one-sided board wipe in a deck that has free discard outlets where I can just dump my whole hand, wipe the whole board, and everybody else's creatures die, but not mine.
Hey Tim, there's more important things to this card.
Oh,
You
what
can
is it? Is it that it
you can cycle it, and then
you
you
could
can
cycle
cast
it?
it. Then you can cast it afterward, Tim. Then you can
Well, you
cast
don't
it
need it.
afterwards.
Yeah, you can just cycle it because you don't need it, and that makes it a better card.
No, 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 no,
I
no,
feel like
no.
we've talked about
You
this.
cycle it. That causes you to discard it, and then you
I know.
mayhem it into play. Like it's blockers.
I mean, so it adds draw a card to the regular mana value of the card. Yes, yes, you can do that, friends. You can cycle this and then
It's
cast it for its mayhem.
broken.
And that, yeah. But I gotta tell you, at least in the time where I fishbowled it, that's never really seemed like an option. I just discard it to a free outlet, cast it for 3, and keep it moving.
I mean,
But
discard outlets can be destroyed. We have to play it safe. And plus,
yeah. So
I love
anybody
cycling.
who's ever played against Archfiend of Ifnir knows how abusive this card can be. Like, if this is on the board against this deck and I have any kind of discard outlets, your creatures are not safe. So this is definitely a threat that needs to be dealt with, or I'm going to control the whole board as long as this is out there.
Yeah. Again, this is one of those cards that, like, I know it's a mean thing to do to people, but it brings so much joy to my heart when I get to play this card. Because I have it in my Indominus Rex Alpha. It's not as good as it is in this list, but it does enough work that it doesn't matter.
Tell you, it's one of the things I really like about this deck is that there's no shying away from being the villain here. There's just, first off, the creature type is on the commander.
Mhm.
So I am a villain playing this deck no matter what. But really, like, I know that what I'm doing is going to be threatening. I know I'm going to draw aggro, so I just have to put the pedal down.
Yeah.
I just have to absolutely go as fast as I can and not be shy about just, whittling everybody's life totals down. And there's something freeing about that because sometimes I'm just trying to be the nice guy and have fun at the table, but every now and again it is nice to be like, I'm gonna play this deck that's very villainous, that's very fast, that's very strong, and let's see how it goes. So that is an enormous amount of fun sometimes.
Alrighty, so that's the basics. So now we're going to dive into what we call the deck objectives. So to kind of explain what the deck objectives are is we like to come up with 4 objectives that it's kind of like the game plan of a deck, right? So Tim, why don't you go ahead and tell us what the objectives you picked today?
So in this case, I ended up going kind of categorical, not so much like point A to point B to point C like we sometimes do, but really like in order for this engine to run, it has to kind of have these different pieces in play, and that can be filled by a lot of different things. So there has to be a certain number of discard outlets. So that's going to be one of the objectives, is get some kind of way to discard cards. We also need to have a decent amount of discard payoffs because we're going to be discarding a lot of cards and we want to get as much out of that as we can. The commander gives our cards mayhem, so we want to have cards that are giving us value from that. And then finally, just payoffs and finishers, things that are going to help us close out the game by creating that discard kind of, that, I want to say loop, but that's not exactly right. By creating that discard engine and that mayhem engine, how are we going to close out the game?
Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead into my first pick for the discard outlet. And the reason why I picked this one, I picked Zombie Infestation. It is a 2-mana enchantment, one in a black. It says discard 2 cards to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. If this card just said discard 2 cards, do nothing, you would still probably run it.
Maybe.
The fact that you're making a 2/2 zombie is nice, I guess, but realistically speaking, what makes this card so much better than some of your other discard outlets, not tied to a creature. So being able to like have a discard outlet survive a board wipe is kind of important. And boy, it definitely earned its spot in its list the other night
Yeah,
because
for just that reason, right?
right.
Is that it? So you did cast a massive board wipe and removed almost everything, but what didn't get removed at that point was zombie infestation, or another card we're going to talk about later. I still had enough of an engine that I could keep getting value because this was still on the board. I'm a big believer in this one. I definitely think that it earned its spot in the list, and it reminds me of, and this it reminds me of the 1 mana. Um, Creature that allows you putrid imp, right? So
Mhm.
I've got that in the list, and I'm breaking the format here a little bit to talk about another discard outlet. It is literally a 1 mana black creature that you don't really get anything for discarding it. Like
Right.
you said, if it just said discard a card, you'd probably still play it. If I were gonna trim a discard outlet, it would be putrid imp, not this.
Right. I 100%
because
agree with that statement.
I think getting the zombies is a much more incidental side effect and a much more
Right.
effective incidental side effect, because those zombies will win me games. I
Yeah,
know
of
that they
course.
will. Because there are a number of things that create zombie tokens, and they usually get flying and haste at some point throughout the course of the
Hmm.
game as well. So they are a force to be reckoned with as well.
Yeah. Such a good card. But I mean, to be fair, the card you picked is also disgustingly good. So
It is. So this is I picked first discard outlets. This is the strongest one in the deck. It is attached to a creature, but still, this is another one of those cards that dollar wise is up, a little bit more expensive than the curve of this deck. It is Psychic Frog. This is legally distinct from Psychotog.
mhm.
Psychic Frog is just a blue and a black for a 1/2 frog. If it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. You may discard a card to put a +1/+1 counter on it. You may exile 3 cards from your graveyard to give it flying until end of turn. So it's a free discard outlet, but it gets +1/+1 counters. When you're discarding cards to it, it is the best incidental effect for a 2 mana thing, and giving it flying for exiling a few things that you don't need in your graveyard anymore is not a big deal at all. Again, there are other things that allow this creature to get through in the deck, so it's going to get through and get me that extra card. But the more important part is just that it's just a free discard outlet that gets really, really big, and can close out games by itself. This is an auto include in this list as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, he just gets so big.
Yep.
Um, like
This card is so
so
pushed. Like this card
so.
is so pushed.
Why does it also like? Why do you have to draw a card if it deals damage to something too?
That's
Like,
right. Well,
like, why
yep.
does there have to be upside to this card? It
Yep.
doesn't need the upside. It costs
Like why is it?
2.
Yeah.
Like,
Why is it better than Psychotog in every way?
yeah.
Like it is cheaper, it gets counters, it draws a card, it can give itself evasion. Like it's such a pushed card that kind of harkened back to those Psychotog days, and they were trying to push that similar
Hmm.
strategy into modern, and guess what? It worked. This card's great.
Wait, that card works crazy. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and go into the discard payoffs. The card that I picked, it hurt me. Well, it didn't hurt me, but it did hurt someone on the table, like really badly. So the card that I'm talking about is Captain Howler Sea Scourge. He is 2, a blue, and a red. Legendary creature, Shark Pirate. Awesome creature types, by the way. He has
Yeah.
Ward 2 and pay 2 life, so you have to pay 2 and 2 life. Why? Why, wizards? Anyway, I'm not even done reading the card yet. It says whenever you discard one or more cards, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn for each card discarded this way. And then whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card. So, when you have a free discard outlet, your commander is going to get fat. He's going to get super chunky.
Mm-hmm.
and we like them thick, and we like them chunky.
Yeah, this is it, and I love this card because it's like a 25-cent card. This is like a garbage rare from Ether Drift, and
Mm-hmm.
it is so insane in this deck. It is just incredibly overpowered because it is one of the best discard payoffs because you can either go tall by putting all of those triggers on one creature like the commander. This is when I said that you can get through a commander damage win or a commander damage, player removal very easily by having this and a free discard outlet with your commander. So, I mean, that's only 3 cards that you're trying to have. You have multiple different versions of the deck. So it's not difficult to discard all the cards in your hand. Give your commander, plus 19, get it to 21 and get that commander
What
damage kill in there. And then you draw a bunch of cards.
what makes it even worse is that it refills your hand afterwards. Like, why? Why does it have to refill your hand? Was the +2/+0 not good enough?
Right?
Like, it fills your hand. Like, there should be downsides to discarding your cards, and it shouldn't
And
be
then
replacing them.
right? So it can go. So like I said, it can go tall for commander damage, or if you're discarding a bunch of cards, you can spread it out and give it to all of your different creatures, so that all of them are getting that +2/+0 bonus, and all of the different ones are drawing you additional cards. And that way, if you need to go wide in order to get the damage through, you definitely can. And remember, you can discard stuff at instant speed and use it as a sort of combat trick. So it's so strong. It's such a really powerful card. And again, Ward 2, pay 2 life. Like, let's add that on top of it. So if you're holding up that 1 mana for your Path to Exile, not going to get this in time.
So I do want to ask you one question. So let's say if you discard 5 cards separately, right? Each, like, you discard 1 card 5 times. If that creature deals damage to, and you put it all on your commander, let's say,
Yep.
do you draw 5 cards?
Yes, because it gives a different instance of the whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card. So if you imagine it being a text, if you imagine that being a text box edition, so
Mhm.
every time that you target it, it gets another iteration of that. Like, so it would say it 5 times on the card. So yes, you draw multiple cards.
It is Monday Night Football, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw my penalty flag. Unnecessary roughness, 15 yards. Okay, this is ridiculous.
So good, so good.
All right, we've talked enough about mine, so let's go ahead and go and talk about yours.
Mine is not as impressive. It really just draws a bunch of cards, but it's very good at that. So this is just an uncommon. It's one of the few kind of lower rarity cards in the deck, and it is another Green Goblin. Is Green Goblin Revenant. This is 3, a black and a red for a total of 5. It's a 3/3 flying death touch. It's a Goblin human villain. Whenever Green Goblin attacks, discard a card, then draw a card for each card discarded this turn.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so traditionally you're going to have discarded a bunch of cards before this gets its attack in. And again, there are haste enablers in the deck. So best case scenario, you're discarding Green Goblin, getting it onto cheating it onto the battlefield with its mayhem ability. Hopefully it has haste. You get a couple other loot effects in there. When it swings, it discards and draws you 4, 5, 6 cards. It's just an enormous amount of card draw under the right circumstances. It has earned its spot. I was not sure whether or not this was going to make the list when I was first playing the deck, but I really think it deserves the spot. It's very good.
Here's where why I like this card. So this also just brings back memories to Atlanta. We decided, well, Tim bought 2 sealed boxes, and we
Oh
decided to
yeah.
have a sealed event in our own room. And
And we
we
both
played
played
the
this
mirror
deck.
match, and we
we both played Grixis Mayhem because there's
and
only 2 archetypes in this format.
yeah, Bant Heroes and Grixis Mayhem, right?
That's it. Yep.
Um, and man, that card when he had it on the battlefield just drew him so many cards in
Mhm.
sealed, let alone a commander deck that's doing it
Yeah.
way better. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this card out in the battlefield and going, dare I say, banana sandwich.
I love bananas.
That's why they're in sandwiches, right?
Hmm.
Anywho, we're gonna go ahead and go into the third objective, and we're talking about mayhem value. And the card that I picked is called Secrets of the Dead. It is a 2 and a blue enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, draw a card. Hey Tim, question. When you're casting things for mayhem, doesn't that come from the graveyard?
It does, as a matter of fact. You are casting a spell from the graveyard. That's true.
Weird. So, hey Tim, is drawing cards really good?
It especially when you get to it, it's just incidental. Yes, it is good.
Yeah, no, I think this card is an all-star for this deck.
Yeah.
Um even just like on one of your regular turns, like you could just draw 10 cards off this thing pretty easily.
Yeah, if you've got all those other setup pieces in there and you've got this on the field, and this kind of does a good bone miser impression, right? So if
Mhm.
this is on the field, if you're ditching one of those mana rocks and then
Yep.
casting it, you're getting increased mana value and you're drawing additional cards. So yeah, and this costing 3 means you're often casting it for
Yep, for
1
one
as
blue.
well.
Yep.
So. Mhm.
Man, when you get to say, "Hey, I'm just reducing all the cost of my spells by 2," man, it just makes like because like if you were to look at this average mana value of this deck, right? Like it's it's kind of high, right? When you're looking at it,
Yep.
but then when you discount everything by 2 or more, it's just like, "Oh, this is easy. This is cakewalk." Why was I worried to begin with? Um
Mhm.
because you should definitely be worried about this deck. It's terrifying. Tim,
Yo.
we it's funny how I said I was going to talk about this card on this episode,
Right.
and
So
I
I'm
didn't
gonna
pick
I'm
it
gonna
anyway.
shift gears here. Let me stop you there. I'm gonna shift gears here. I'm gonna put a different card in this spot and talk about this card next,
Okay.
because I really think that the card that we're alluding to is a finisher and not a value card. It
Hmm.
is both, but I promise that it is a finisher in this deck.
Yeah.
So instead, something that actually gives you values off of playing your mayhem cards. I wanna showcase a new card instead, and the card is Shadow of the Goblin. So this is one of the only other enchantments in the deck. There's only 3 in the list as of right now. So Shadow of the Goblin is from the Spider-Man set. It's 1 and a red, and it's an enchantment. At the beginning of your first main phase, discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So it's got a rummage instead of a loot. But again, in this deck, that card you're discarding is still practically in your hand. So it's kind of like drawing an additional card and getting that free discard each turn. And then it also has whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, it deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Mm.
So it is incremental value, but when you are casting 4 or 5 spells each turn, doing 4 or 5 damage to your opponents adds up very quickly. This is a really like you can get this down on turn 2 or 3 before you cast your commander, and then it is thousand cutting your opponents the entire game
Hmm.
and giving you that value over time that's going to allow you to kind of sweep in and do those kind of win out of nowhere kind of turns, but it also just keeps the engine going because you're discarding a card and drawing an additional card every turn. So I think this card is very, very strong in the list, and I think it fits a little better into the like value category.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this card's really really solid. And so it happens at the beginning of your first main phase.
So
Yeah.
after you draw, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. So like you will always be able to at least, especially with your commander out, you're always going to be able to at least discard something, right? Like
That's right.
that makes it a lot nicer. Because like if it were in the beginning of your upkeep or something, it could be a little tricky because if you heaven forbid, I mean with how much card draw you have in here, I don't think it's possible. But if you heaven forbid do end up empty-handed, this is still like letting you choose.
Yep.
So what a great card. I like this card a lot.
it's really synergized deliberately with this commander. Like it's built to be a mayhem enabler, but it's also a mayhem payoff. So if it's both of those categories, which is why it's such an obvious include.
So wait, so you're telling me anything that has Green Goblin or Shadow of the Goblin would go good in the Green Goblin deck?
Not all of them, but most of them, yes. A
Oh,
lot of the
weird.
cards from the Spider-Man set did make their way into this deck. Yes.
So we're gonna go ahead and go with our Mayhem payoffs slash finishers, and I picked a fun card.
I
It's
love
from
this card.
it's from the Doctor Who set. It's Flaming Tyrannosaurus. It costs 5 and 2 red. It's a 5/5 menace, and it says Paradox. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Flaming Tyrannosaur deals 3 damage to any target. Then put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then when it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Wow, this thing's going to get big. It's going to fling 3 damage basically for every spell you cast. This card will win you games so freaking fast. It's unreal. And it's a flaming T-Rex. What more can I say about this card besides it's amazing?
Yeah, it's the top end of the deck for sure. It is the most expensive card in the deck, mana value wise. So it is really like it's got to be solid to be in the list, and it is
Mm-hmm.
because even cheating this in for 2 less means you're still paying 5 for it. But everything you do after this is on board. You're getting that incremental lightning bolt, and this is getting bigger. And the bigger this gets, the more threatening to just wipe out the whole table.
It
So this is like kind of impending doom on the table when this is sitting there. I was so happy to have found this card and put it in this list.
Yeah, it's like a doomsday clock and it's about to strike midnight. Like, you see this thing, you need to kill it before he casts another spell, which technically is impossible. So, well, it kind of is. Depends on how you're casting the discarded spell. We're talking timing things, it's complicated, but this card's ridiculous. It's really good. Um, and kill it as soon as possible because it will end your face. So what card did you pick?
So I picked a card that we have talked about in seemingly every video for a very long time now. It has very quickly become one of my favorite cards of all time. It's going to go in my spell book if we ever do another spell book episode. And the card is Monument to Endurance.
Hmm.
This is a 3 mana artifact that reads whenever you discard a card, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn, either draw a card, make a treasure, or each opponent loses 3 life. So we've talked about this card before. If you can manage to discard a card on each of your opponent's turns and yours, you're doing 12 to the table every cycle. So you're only going to get through about 3 turns before you actually factually just win the game. And this card does it. This card
Yes, it
absolutely wins
does.
games, including the one that we just played with this deck that we're hopefully going to be able to showcase by the time this video is up. This card is amazing. I'm such a huge believer. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, like this does so much more work in this list compared to like my cycling deck. It's unreal. Like, you don't necessarily like, for me in the cycling deck, I kind of need that card draw on top of it.
Yep.
Um so like I kind of need to cycle 2 things in order for me to kind of like want to do that 3 damage before. Uh in this list, you're just like, nope, I'm killing it with fire. You're gonna burn everyone down, and oh, I've been burned, Tim.
Yeah,
Still love
we
this
talked
card.
about that. We alluded to it briefly earlier that like zombie infestation in this card means on each of my opponent's turns, I'm discarding 2 cards to make a zombie, draw a card, and do 3 damage to each opponent. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
trust and believe I'm going to do that on every single person's turn. And yes, I'm going to end up with 3 cards less, but I also now have 3/2/2 zombies, and everybody has 9 less life, and I only lost 3 cards for the pleasure of doing that. If I
Oh
have
no.
anything else on board that allows me to get even more value out of that, which is entirely possible that I do. So imagine a scenario where you have Bone Miser and you've got zombie infestation, and you've got monument to endurance. Very real chance that you're discarding 2 cards, drawing those cards right back, getting everybody to lose 3 life, and maybe even getting a treasure for it. So it is not hard to set something up where you are just absolutely getting the full value out of this for absolutely free.
Doing things for free is pretty good, right?
It's good. It's good. It's mana efficient, as they say.
Yeah, some would say it's pretty good. All right, so we're going to segue into our honorable mentions. These are cards we just want to gush about because we love gushing about Magic cards. And quite frankly, 16 cards is not enough. So,
Not enough.
It's not enough. So, Tim, what's the honorable mention that you picked for today?
So again, we talked about this one previously in a video very recently as well, because I think that this is going to be something of a commander staple because it can copy your commander. And of course, I'm talking about Chameleon, the Master of Disguise. This is another Spider-Man card. It's a 4-mana clone. So it's 4 mana for a 2/3 legendary human shapeshifter villain. You may have it enter as a copy of a creature you control, except its name stays the same. So it gets the text box and abilities of a creature that is already on the board, but it's still Chameleon Master of Disguise, so it gets around the legend rule. It also has Mayhem built into it for 2 and a blue. So this card costs 1 if you got the commander out, and you can cast it. So very often, at least in the fish bowling that I've done with the deck, you can get Fleam out, toss this in the graveyard, and copy Fleam. So that now anything that you discard now costs 4 less. That's not the most valuable thing that you can do, but it is valuable, I promise. So I love Chameleon. There's lots of other juicy targets for it in the deck as well, like Bone Miser, like Captain Howler. Lots of different opportunities for this to copy things. And sometimes you just copy a looter like Rona. And you've got 2 Ronas, and they are looting and untapping every time you cast a legendary. So I'm a believer. Chameleon, definitely in my pick of like best cards of the set.
Oh yeah, such a great card. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking to myself, you don't really need to have 2 versions of your commander because like double mayhem does nothing. But costing 4 less, that just means your Argentum Manticore only costs 1.
Yep, it means that your
Scourge
dinosaur
Familiar
that only
1.
costs 1. It means your Tyrannosaurus only costs 3. It matters. It doesn't matter a lot. Like I said, there's better things that you can copy for sure, but in a pinch, it's definitely useful because then you also have redundancy. If they have spot removal and they get rid of your commander, you've got a backup. So that that's just one example of a thing that you can copy. I'm usually holding this to copy a payoff like Bone Miser or Tyrannosaurus.
Of course.
I think that those are better hits for that kind of thing. But again, any of the other like really powerful legendary creatures are worth thinking about as well.
Alrighty, so my honorable mention, I cheated. I picked 2 cards, but they're both very similar in what they do. I know it's my show and I can do what I want, right, Tim? I mean, you could pick 2, but I was just too excited about both because I love both of these cards. The cards I picked were both Anger and Wonder. Their mana cost doesn't matter because you will absolutely never cast these cards. So Wonder says it's a flyer who says as long as you control this card in your graveyard and an island, all your creatures gain flying. And Anger does the same thing except for mountains and haste. Is there any particular reason why you didn't run Filth?
What does Filth do?
Swamp Walk. I guess
I don't have room.
Well, that you probably don't have Urborg in here, do you?
No, I don't own the card. So that might have been a reason for it. And really, like, what does Swamp Walk get? I mean, I guess Swamp Walk is actually unblockable against certain decks, but I don't know. I really like. I wasn't entirely sure that Wonder belonged in the list until I started play testing it a little bit and felt like having an army of flying zombies was actually a pretty scary thing to have. So Wonder made some sense to me. I don't think the deck could afford to have yet another thing that did that.
Well, Well, and also you're never gonna want to cast it, so like discarding it, it's great and all, but like a lot of the times when you're discarding something, you want to cast that thing as well. So
because you
that
get
makes a lot of
additional value
sense.
out of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that makes a lot of sense.
I could see it though. I could see Filth and Urborg in the deck, but again, I don't only have so many Urborgs, and they're already doing work somewhere else.
All right, so before we segue into the cards to consider, I just wanted to drop this thing real quick and see what your thoughts were. What about a card like Crucible of Worlds, where you can play lands from your graveyard, and it only costs one for you, right? So like,
Right.
do you ever feel like you're going to be missing land drops or anything because you're discarding, or do you think you have
I draw
enough
I
lands
draw
that?
too I draw too many cards.
Oh, that
I
makes a
draw
lot
I
of
draw
sense.
I draw so many cards. I know if I'm missing land drops, it's early in the game. Once the engine is running, I almost always am discarding lands at the end of my turn.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw Crucible of World, in some lists, and I do think that there may be some usefulness there. Let me look at something really quick. So Tyrannosaurus does not trigger when you're playing lands from the graveyard. Shadow of the Goblin does. You would get a damage each turn for that, but
Yeah, there's not
that's
too
real like
many.
incidental. Yeah,
Yeah, I just wanted to see
I
what you thought of that before we actually dived into the cards that um should definitely go into the list.
yeah.
Um,
Our picks here are cards that I definitely think agree should go in the list.
yeah, so now we're going to talk about cards to consider. I actually had a couple of cards that I had originally picked, but the one that I'm going to go with I think is a shoe-in because it is a Bone Miser wannabe.
Hmm.
Uh, and I picked Surly Badgesaur. It is 3 and a red. It says whenever you discard a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on Surly Badgesaur. Whenever you discard a land card, create a treasure token. I mind you, that is not a tapped treasure token.
That is an untapped treasure token. Yep.
And then whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, Surely Badgesaur fights up to one target creature you don't control. So,
Yep.
one thing that I like, I mean, the discarding your creature card and making it bigger is kind of nice. It's not super important. And then the non-creature, non-land card making it fight, which is kind of nice, but like you also don't want this creature to die. It does say up to one,
Yeah,
so you
there's
don't
a
have
couple of
to,
there's
which
a
is
couple of
nice.
things worth mentioning here, right? Like, but let's remember that all of these are incidental. You're not discarding a card to do this thing. You're getting this value by discarding this card to something else, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not discarding a card to put a counter on this. You are just getting a counter when you discard a creature card. You're not discarding a land card to make a treasure. You're just getting a treasure when you discard a land card. So this, like Bone Miser, is creating incidental value, and that middle one that's giving you a treasure every time you discard a land card, that's the valuable thing. Because, like I said, on my end step, if I have 10 cards and 5 of them are lands, I'm pitching 3 lands on my end step. Now that generates 3 treasures,
Right.
and that mana is now sitting around until my next turn. And the ability to discard something and possibly fight something at instant speed. Yes, I'm really only going to be able to do that once each turn, but once this gets big enough, this becomes an actual really scary, threatening removal
Oh,
spell as well.
absolutely.
So I remember looking at this card because it was high on the list for a lot of other people,
Mhm.
and I didn't necessarily see just how much value you could get out of that. But the more I played the deck and the more I went back and looked at this card, the more I thought I could really see it. But then when you pair it with the card I'm going to talk about, then you see like it absolutely belongs in the list, and I actually already have an idea of where it's going to go.
It's like you bought these cards already, and like,
I bought these cards already, and I'm waiting for them in the mail.
alrighty, Tim. What's the card that you picked?
Okay, so I picked Attunement, and again, if you're familiar with the list, you'll know that these two cards combo together very well. But I would put Attunement in the list even if Badgersaur weren't in the list. This is just amazingly good in this list for a great number of reasons. Attunement is a 3 mana enchantment from Urza's Saga. It's 2 and a blue. It reads, return attunement to its owner's hand, draw 3 cards, then discard 4 cards. So the trick here is that when you activate attunement, it goes back into your hand as part of the activation. So when it resolves, it can discard itself. So you return attunement to your hand, draw 3 cards, discard 4 cards, including attunement. Then for a blue, you can put attunement back onto the battlefield, and you can just stop there. But if you have Badgersaur in play and you discarded a land in that transaction, you've got the treasure to cast Attunement again. So it creates a little mini loop. And if you've got anything that's triggering off of discards over and over and over, think, the Sky Ray that gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you're discarding stuff. The Badgersaur itself is getting bigger as you're discarding things. If you've got Bone Miser out, you're getting stuff. So it just creates this incredibly repeatable loop, which is not infinite technically, but incredibly valuable. And again, Attunement is just an incredibly solid card in the list, period, even if you don't have Badgersaur out.
Yeah, because you can, for just 1 blue mana, you're drawing 3, discarding 4. Like, it's one more card on each side, Bazaar Baghdad. Like, is Bazaar Baghdad a good card, Tim?
It is. Is it also banned in Commander?
No. It's just not.
Is it not?
No. I have I don't think it's banned because, like, it's just one piece in the 99. It's not amazing in Commander. It's more like really good in like Vintage and stuff. Where
take your word for it.
Yeah, the card's really good.
So yeah, Attunement, like this one, it went right past me. I didn't see it in any list, which I'm really at least a little surprised by, because I have some like kind of subpar 3 mana, draw a couple of cards and discard a couple of card spells in the deck, which I think are solid. They do a good trick, but this is clearly better than those, like immediately better, because if you got your commander out again, you could easily be casting this 2 or 3 times without having any kind of extra mana value generating thing.
Oh, Tim, Taval's Judgment. Oh my god, what are we doing here?
I didn't want to buy it when I first built the deck.
It's a $16 card. I don't blame you. But whenever your card leaves the graveyard, draw a card, create a treasure, or create a 2/2 zombie black creature. Again, it's only choose one that hasn't been chosen. So there's a finite number of it. But still.
Yeah, it's giving Monument to Endurance. You're just getting different abilities out of them, and they're good. They're good abilities, no question. It's really 2 out of 3 of them are the same. The difference is the zombie token versus the life. So it's kind of another copy of that if you think about it. Yeah, it probably is worth consideration. I don't know if I could spend any more money on this deck.
No, don't do that. But there was oh dang, what was there was one more card that I was thinking about, and I can't remember what it was. Dang, what was it? Oh, this is gonna break my heart. I can't remember. I'm looking through the EDH rec page to see if I can see it at a glance, but I'm not seeing it, and it's
Listen, we've talked about life.
Children of the Apocalypse. You're just going to gain so much life. Oh my god!
Stop it! You want me to put Shelly in the list?
Yes, why not?
I am drawing a lot of cards. I'm not putting Shelly in the list.
It only costs 2 black.
I get that. Like, it's obviously a good card. Like, the deck is already abusive enough.
You haven't been hanging around me enough, Tim.
Okay, friends, opponents, it's time for us to hang up the old glider and or gene splicing helmet. I can't keep this shit straight anymore. Thank you, as always, for spending time with us on the Head Games Commander podcast. Remember, you can support this show and all of our other content by watching this and our other videos over on YouTube. check out our streams on Twitch and YouTube. You can find those links in the description.
But before we scoop things up, we want to hear from you, the think tank. What cards would you put in Fleam? And what commanders would you like to see us build and spotlight in the future? Let us know in the comments below. And I haven't thought of a cool way of saying thank you for playing along with us. Have a wonderful day. Bye. I'm going to be normal today. Just bye.
Bye.
I don't have a good Willem Dafoe accent or impersonation, or I would try that.
Insert Willem Dafoe impersonation here. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening in. If you made it this far, you might as well hit the subscribe button. And if you really want to see Green Goblin create all sorts of mayhem, watch this video here.